Hello, my fellow vacuum enthusiasts. This is Intellitech Studios with a video that I didn't expect to make, but I figured it would be a lot easier than constantly doing a bunch of different videos because a lot of people are asking me, hey, can you compare this vacuum to this vacuum? Usually within the same brand. Usually it's Bissell because a lot of my friends who are vacuum collectors really like Bissells and they want to see certain Bissells put up against each other. So I decided, why don't I just do all of them? So in the case of Bissell, because I have so many Bissells, I'm going to be doing them in two separate videos. One for all the bagged versions and one for all the bagless versions. Super simple. And then I'll be doing another video with my Dysons and Phantoms. So the Dysons and the Phantoms in one video because, you know, there's 5 in total. And, well, actually, that's pretty much it. There's not really much else that either isn't in my personal collection, meaning not ones that I'm selling, or that are ones that are ready to go. So like the Hoovers, the Orek, those aren't ready to go yet, so I don't want to do videos on them while they still need bags and belts and parts and stuff, because I still got to wait for all that stuff to arrive. So, in the meantime, I'll be doing a video comparing all of my bagged Bissell vacuum cleaners, running all of them in this video, running all of them, talking about all of them, and doing quick comparisons to each other. Chances are, with this many vacuums, I'm probably going to miss a detail. So if there's something that I miss and you're wondering, hey, what's the difference between this one and this one? Just comment, because while a lot of these are pretty much the same, there are some minor differences, and I may miss one or two of the minor differences. But you get the basic idea. It's, you run all the vacuums, and kind of see, like, hey, I like this one for this reasons, blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty much it. So we're going to start off with the vacuum that I've pretty much been, this has pretty much been the vacuum that, the reason you guys haven't seen this one too often anymore is because, it is a little bit dusty because it's been sitting in the closet. I didn't dust any of these off, I probably should have, whatever. This one was sitting in my dad's closet, or in the closet in the hallway, because this is the vacuum that I pretty much have had my dad use, you know, for whenever he needs to use a vacuum, which is very, very rare, obviously. But on the occasion that he uses a vacuum, I've been having him use the 3522-R, just because it's the same vacuum that he used, you know, 20 years ago. So it's pretty familiar to him, and has the light and everything. So eventually I will probably... I am going to sell this eventually. I've been trying to sell this for a while now because I have the Dash 5, and this one's kind of Frankenstein of parts anyways. So it's not, you know, the prettiest in the world. So I'm trying to find another collector to trade with, because obviously I don't want to release this out to the general public because they'll probably beat the crap out of it and throw it away. So in the meantime, it's just kind of my auxiliary vacuum, just sort of my catch-all vacuum whenever I don't want to use something in my collection, so to speak. And, you know, one that I know is going to, you know, survive the task. I don't use this to vacuum the back porch or anything, but, like, I did use this to vacuum out my car and, you know, little stuff like that, and it's been fine. It has gotten a little bit dusty, so if one of you guys do buy it, I will strip it all the way down to the motor and dust it out again and make sure that it's perfect and in great shape before it goes to someone else. But in the meantime, I know it handles it just fine. So yeah, this is my 3522-R. This is one where I replaced the base with a Power Force bagless base, and I just dusted that off with my sock. And it also has a bag door from a 352G-5, because as you know, these didn't initially have the bag change indicators. But yeah, it's the -R. I think I've shown the model plate for this one off in the past, but in case you haven't seen it before, if this will focus, come on, will you focus? There we go, I tapped the screen with my nose and now it focused. But you can see, that's the specs of that one. I believe every single other one I have shown the ratings plate before, and I believe I did show it in the case of this one too, but either way, you've seen all these before, so if you want to know the actual model numbers and stuff, the original videos have all that information, so yeah. But anyways, yeah, so this is, obviously, this is the -R. It has a swiveling hose similar to a Power Glide. It has, beyond that, it's pretty much identical to a 3522-5 or whatever the case may be, other than these originally didn't have bag change indicators, and they also had the gray crevice tool. This one only has the extension one on it because I'm running out of spare combo tools, so I need to get some more combination tools and longer crevice tools. But yeah, it works, and brush roll's good on it. Everything else is good on it. It's fully functional. This is the only vacuum that I don't have a HEPA bag in right now. All the other ones have my Clean Fairy HEPA bags. This one has just a normal Arm & Hammer paper bag, just because it's been used so infrequently that it, you know, I haven't had to replace the bag yet with a HEPA bag, so that's the reason why. Of course, if someone buys it, I'll put a brand new HEPA bag in it, unless they want a different type of bag, or unless I forget and put the wrong bag in it. So, there we go. I guess we'll run this one real quick. It has a little bit of that roar, you know, because like where it sounds healthy, but I think I don't know, maybe because like it doesn't sound any different to me, but when I watch it on the video, it sounds different. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it's just a placebo effect. It sounds perfectly fine, and obviously once I dust the motor out, it'll sound even better. But yeah, so it sounds perfectly healthy. So yeah. Yeah, so that's the 3522-R, and there's not really much else to say about it. This one works pretty good, and yeah, I guess there's not. Oh, also I think, let's see, what did I put filter-wise in this? Oh yeah, it has a HEPA filter in it, so I did put a HEPA filter in it, so it is HEPA now. I don't think there's much else to say about it. It does the trick, so I pretty much just use it for just whatever. Or pretty much my dad uses it for whatever. Since I will be selling this, obviously once I sell it, I will buy my dad a new vacuum. Or at least give him another vacuum. Had I fixed the Helix Turbo and gotten a new brush roll for that, I probably would have given him that, but I'm probably going to get him a Rewind or something like that. I'm not sure. But either way, so that's why you haven't seen it that often, because it's pretty much just been his vacuum, and since he uses it so infrequently, I'm not worried about him trashing it or anything, but I still don't trust him enough to give him a Power Glide or anything, obviously. So, you know, since I have a duplicate of this, I will probably find another 3522 at some point. Someone actually is selling one on OfferUp, so I may get that, but I'm not quite sure. I don't really need it because I have two of them at the moment. But yeah, so that's the 3522-R. And yeah, not much else to say about that, so I guess we'll move on to the next vacuum. Switching gears for a sec, we have a Bissell Big Green commercial. Now, it's kind of funny how I mention this because because this is currently my only Bissell commercial vacuum that I own. However, there is a possibility that soon I'll be getting hold of the Rubbermaid variant, which is the older version of this, and possibly the Sanitaire version, which is the newer version of this. Although this is still on sale as of now, you can still buy this, and I do still recommend this machine. But Sanitaire now makes a version of this with a metal handle and a dark blue color, so I'll have to check that out at some point. But Bissell is still making this as of now. They're still selling it on the website, so I don't think this will be discontinued soon. Hopefully not. But if it does get discontinued, there is a Sanitaire version. But I haven't checked that out yet. So this one, obviously, I got this one brand new. By the way, did I mention how I got the last one? The last one I got on eBay for $40. So this one I got also on eBay for $40, or 47, I think. Basically, like almost $50, and it was brand new in the box. It was brand new in the box. I still have the box in the closet. I don't feel like digging it out, but it is there. I do still have the box for it. It arrived brand new in the box. The box was damaged, so it did have some scratches on it. This one my dad did use for a little bit, and that's why there's a huge gash on the front of it. I don't know how that got there. It seems like while this plastic is more durable, it seems like it's a softer material, you know, like it's like rubberized. So as a result, it seems to scratch a little bit easier. So that's why there's a huge gash on the front of it, and I really don't like that. Hopefully there's a way that I can get that out. I haven't really tried. forgot it was even there until I just noticed this video. But yeah, so this one is in obviously excellent condition because it was, you know, new whenever I got it, and I treated it very nicely. And so it has all the attachments, of course. It's got the stubby ass little crevice tool, but it still does the trick. Still has the combo tool and everything, obviously all brand new. Of course, like all the Power Forces, it has that thing where you can stick the crevice tool in the combo tool and use it as an extension wand, which even for this little crevice tool is still kind of handy, because this still is a little bit longer and nicer than the ones that come with the newest Power Force Helix models. So yeah, so it's got the stretch hose. It didn't come with a HEPA filter, but I did retrofit it with a Febreze HEPA filter, which I normally don't buy these, but this one I just happen to have around. So this is the machine that I stuck it in, and it's got a super long 35-foot cord, which I absolutely adore, because it's so much nicer to not have to worry about constantly plugging and unplugging the cord. It has that lawnmower style connector, so it's super easy to replace the cord. The cord is really strong. Not a fan of the yellow and green color. It is my school colors though, or at least it was. So that's kind of handy. That's kind of nifty. I don't know why I just pulled the whole cord off. I didn't need to do that. But yeah, so, and it's got the little bracket, because again, mine was new, so it came with this little retention bracket to keep the cord attached. And of course you can twist it like that if you want to pull the cord out, or you can turn it like that to lock the cord in. It's pretty nice. It's got the cord clip up here. You don't have to put it all the way in this clip, but you can if you want to. Because I know some people have complained about these clips tearing up the cord. If it tears up the cord, just put it in the first notch. Don't put it in the second notch. Because if you just stick it in the first notch, then it's not going to mess up the cord. Hopefully that was in frame. And yeah, it's still really nice. It feels a little bit lighter weight than the older variants. I don't know why. Obviously it's a little bit heavier when you have a giant thick cord on it. Obviously that adds weight. But overall, this one I'm super happy with. It works beautifully. And considering I got it for a really good deal, I mean, even for the normal, you know, $160, I still think it's worth it. But even though I necessarily might not pay that much for it, I still think it's worth it. This bag door is really hard to get off. That's one thing that's annoying, is that because it's rubberized plastic, this bag door, you have to really work. You have to really work to get this bag door off. But I do have a HEPA bag in there. There's still a little bit of dust. But from the brief time that I've used paper bags in this, but for the most part, it's alright. And it feels a lot sturdier. Like this handle lock, for example, feels much stronger. It feels like it's going to last a lot longer than on the consumer variants of this. As far as the newer Power Forces, I'm not sure how much longer this will last than those. That remains to be seen. But yeah, it still has its original belt and stuff on. Or no, the belt did. That's one thing that happened, is that at some point my dad sucked up something in this and burned through the belt, which was annoying. So the original belt burned through, and I did replace the belt and made sure to clean off the motor shaft and everything. But it's been fine. It handled it just fine. It was able to get back up and running with, you know, in 10 minutes flat, so no big deal. But yeah, so this is a really nice machine. I absolutely recommend it, especially if you still like these older styles and you want to get something new. Hopefully you get lucky like I did and find one for a really good price, because it was even cheaper than just buying a normal Power Force at a store, which I also have, and that will come next. So yeah, let's run this one real quick. But yeah, of course this one, since this is based off the This is essentially a commercialized version of the 71Y7V. So because of that, it has the newer stretch hose. It has a 10 amp motor, and it has it has the same design as the 71Y7V. So this is basically a commercialized version of the 71Y7V. Just like how the Bissell Big Green Commercial Pro Cup is essentially a commercialized version of the 1240 PowerForce Helix. So again, with the 10 amp motor specifically. So this one isn't 8 amps like the newest one. It's 10 amps, which I think is the perfect balance. I think that the 10 amp one, the motor sounds, it sounds fine. It's not super whiny like the newer 8 amp motors, but it also doesn't seem to have the weird motor syndrome that a lot of the older 12 amp motors had. So it just seems to kind of be the best overall. I wish it had a headlight. That's my biggest complaint. There's no headlight on it. I would have thought that in a commercial environment, headlights would be very useful, but a lot of sanitaires, a lot of, Hoover commercials, commercial vacuums in general, just for some reason don't seem to have headlights, which is perfect for this machine because the consumer version of this exact model didn't have one. But it is kind of annoying for me because I do enjoy having the headlight. And if it had the headlight, this would legitimately be pretty much perfect, and I would have no complaints with it. Because my biggest complaint about the PowerForces is the cord length, the filtration, and in the case of newer variants, the lack of headlight. And if this had a headlight, it addresses the other two, because also, since this is a commercialized variant, the seals are a lot of higher quality, so the actual filtration is by default better. I don't know about the brown paper bags that these come with. I don't know how much those compare to the Febreze or OEM genuine consumer Bissell bags. I'd imagine they're a little bit better, but maybe not. But if you use HEPA bags like I do, like the Clean Fairy HEPA bags, which unfortunately aren't available at this exact moment, but when they come back, those Clean Fairy HEPA bags with the HEPA filter and with the sealed system, it definitely seems, I don't know if this is a sealed system per se, but it is much more sealed than the consumer variants. It seems like this is pretty much knocked it out of the park. So I recommend this, that you can still buy these. I definitely recommend them, and I definitely really, really like this one. And I would like to check out the sanitary version at some point, or the older Rubbermaid version, which also has a 35-foot cord, but that one has a headlight on it. So that one I want to get a hold of. I'm messaging a seller right now regarding one, but it looks like he's not wanting to ship it, even though he marked his listing as shippable, which is annoying. But we will see if that works out. But in the meantime, I do still have this, and this is a very, very nice machine. Next, we have the newest member of my collection, quite literally, because, well, I did technically buy the PowerForce Helix and the Power Groom after this. Those actually have gotten used. This has not. I haven't even used this one yet, as you can tell by how sparkly clean the hose is, and how fresh everything still is, and not dusty, minus a little bit of dust from it sitting in my closet. But this is the newest Bissell PowerForce bag that you can buy. This is the model 1739. This one was not updated to the 2000 series like the Helix and Helix Turbo. It does not have the front window on it. It still has the same design as the 1700 model base, as it is a 17 model. So this is model 1739. Has not been updated as of its initial release in 2016. The only exception that has been updated since its initial release is, ironically, the crevice tool, because on the PowerForce Helix, the bagless variant, and the bagless Turbo Helix, both of which are referring to the older and newer versions, they have a very small crevice tool. In fact, let me go grab it, because it is kind of weird. So this is the wand and crevice tool assembly from my PowerForce Helix, the one that I just bought brand new. Again, I also bought this one brand new about a month prior, and it has this little thing. And this is the newest version, 2191. Mine's a U variant because mine's purple, and my Turbo is the same way, where it has this tiny, stubby little crevice tool. This is still fine. In fact, In some areas, you prefer to have a smaller crevice tool if you want to get in tight spaces and you want to concentrate the suction a little bit more. But I don't know why that the more expensive variants come with the shorter crevice tool, whereas this one comes with a long crevice tool. So this is kind of weird because compared to the Helix, the bagless version of this exact machine, this has a better quality hose and it has a higher end crevice tool, even more than the turbo variant that costs, significantly more. Even the Clean Views, I'm pretty sure the Clean Views that cost twice the price of this, I'm pretty sure still have the short crevice tools. So this one has a long crevice tool, at least mine did. I know early versions of these, like the one that Phantom Lightning has that he got in 2016, has the stubby crevice tool, but they've since updated this version, at least the one that I got, to have this crevice tool. And this is still the same model. It is model 1739. So it seems like this is the only change they've made to the Bag Power Force is they've upgraded the crevice tool, despite the fact that's a change that they had not made on the Helix, the normal bagless one, nor the Helix Turbo, which is the higher end bagless one. Not by a lot. Right now the Helix Turbo is $60 at my local Walmart. The bagless is $54 and this is $56. These used to be like $46. Now they've increased the price by $10, $15 over the years. Because the original Power Force vacuums were only $40. Granted, adjusted for inflation, that's probably about $56 anyways. But that's just something to know, is that the prices on this machine have gone up by about $10. They're $56 now. However, despite the fact they're a couple dollars more than the bagless, which is $54 right now in my local Walmart, I still recommend this because you get the better hose, you have better filtration, this thing is a lower profile, it's lighter weight, it feels much sturdier in my opinion, and I don't see any reason why it would be any worse than the bagless variants. Nope, that's not the right one. So this is the right one that goes on here. But yeah, so that is very interesting. And that's a little rant that I kind of had because I don't know why that's the case. But I'm not complaining. It's just another reason to buy the bag because you get the longer crevice tool. But yeah, so you get that. I still have yet to use this. The only modification that I've done, it still has its original belts and everything on it because I haven't used it yet. So the only thing is that I have taken out the Febreze bag and I replaced it with my Clean Fairy HEPA bags that I always use. So that's the only change that I've made to this machine. And haven't even adjusted the height yet, but you can see there's the brand new blue bristle brush roll that's never been used. It's still buttery smooth, no dust underneath here. So as a dusting brush, I now have this in pretty much every color that it comes with. I have one of these in purple, one of these in red, one of these in white. I think the only color I'm missing is green. So, yeah, that's that. And this is kind of weird how they got rid of the combo tool, but this dusting brush seems to be just fine. It's very similar to the one that used to be on the Power Force Compact a few years ago, and on the current one as well. But this is very similar to the ones that used to be on the Bissell Clean Views, only those were a little bit bigger and a bit rounder. Whereas this is more like, this is like the shape of like I don't know what kind of cracker those are called, but the ones that are like oval shaped, the oval shaped crackers, that's like the shape that this is. That's what it reminds me of. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just hungry. But yeah, so put that there, and that's all good. Never used this before, so let's change that and plug this in. Also, some people have complained about the cord hook sticking out more than other machines, but I personally don't really have a complaint about that, especially because a lot of people buy these and use them in commercial settings. Like I know Joe Wheeler does that. He uses it in a commercial setting. And because of these extended cord hooks, it's very easy to just slap another extension cord on this. And I think Bissell kind of knew that because they have these stick out a lot more than normal. And that's my biggest complaint about this, is that there's just that the cord just isn't long enough. If you want a longer cord, you can get the commercial variant of this, the Big Green Commercial, or you can get the Powerlifter Pet bagged or the Cleanview bagged Pet. And again, get stock longer cords on them. But yeah, so what else was I going to say about this? This handle lock seems to be a lot stronger than on the older Power Forces. I have yet to see one of these fail. It just looks robust. So I'm really glad that they actually did fix some of the problems with the outgoing Power Force. I don't like how you can't access the post motor filter without completely tearing the thing down to the motor. But that's not the biggest deal in the world. Obviously, in the case of me, like I can service that filter, and it kind of gives me an excuse to strip it down to the motor anyways, because by the time I'd be using it enough to make that filter dirty, obviously that's all dirt that's gone through the motor, so might as well clean it out. But that's really the only complaint I can think of, is that you don't have access to the post motor filter, and as a result you also can't replace it with the HEPA filter like you can on the outgoing bagged Power Forces. But beyond that, there's not really many other complaints that I have. Some people have complained about this cord hook, but it seems fine to me. I think as long as you don't, the way I see it is you should leave it in this loose section. Don't push it down into this other section, because actually this doesn't even have that. Never mind. But this cord hook seems to be a lot better than the older cord hooks. I don't know, I could be wrong. I haven't used it the whole time. On this one at least. I've used it on the Turbo and the Helix. Anyways, enough babbling. Enough babbling. Let's run this brand new Bissell Power Force 1739. Another reason I like this machine is the brush doesn't vibrate the machine nearly as badly as it does on my Helix, or especially on my Power Groom bagless. That could just be defects with those machines, but this one doesn't have that defect, so that's definitely another reason why I can prefer this machine, at least in my personal collection. But yeah, so I don't think there's much else to say about this. Unfortunately, this one doesn't seem to come in a bunch of different colors like the bagless variants do. So I do wish that Bissell offered this in like an orange and a purple and stuff like that. As far as I know, this one is only available in the turquoisey blue, which I do really like. This is pretty much my favorite color, so I do like it, but it would be nice if Bissell had a little bit more color options like they did with the outgoing Power Force, especially with the 71Y7 models. So that'd be kind of nice if Bissell could do that, so we could have some different color variants for this machine. But beyond that, there's not much else I can think of. Also, Bissell, please make a bagged turbo variant of this, because like just a normal bagged turbo. I don't know why you guys haven't done that yet, but please make a bagged turbo variant of this, just so I can have a turbo brush on the front of it and have this better base and the longer cord. That would be really nice. You know, that would pretty much be perfect, again, because it would address the problem with the cord, and everything else is still really great on this. So yeah, I really like this one, and even though some people don't like the newest Power Force, I do still really like it. The motor is a bit whiny, and just by design, and that can get kind of annoying if you vacuum for long periods of time, but I guess it is better than having the weird motor syndrome anyways, so I guess that's fine. But yeah, so moving on to the next one. Well, since I talked about my newest Power Force, it seems only fitting to go straight into the oldest Power Force that I have. So, as we all know, this is the Power Force 3522-5. And of course, this machine is the one that I've had for the longest of time. I remember whenever I first got this, I got this back in 2009, I think. And this one I got at a thrift store. The only issue with it was the entire hose, especially the lower hose, was badly plugged up with a bunch of stuff. Also, this is a replacement base, by the way. This is a base from a 3522-R, as the original 3522-5 base I don't have anymore. So at some point I will have to find another 3522-5 with a really good base on it, and put that on this one so that way it has all the correct parts. But the only difference is that the Dash R base has a black hose, whereas the Dash 5 base had a clear hose, lower hose. That's the only difference. But beyond that, this machine, I've had it for years. I've had it for over a decade. This one also was a little bit dusty. And this one I did spill. This one had that soda spill in my closet that also happened to the Fury. So, but beyond that, it still works perfectly. Ever since I unclogged it, it's been working absolutely flawlessly. I've never had an issue with it. This is obviously the vacuum that I chose to keep whenever we moved here from Missouri. I made the mistake of, my Dirt Devil Breeze was no big deal because it was the new version. It wasn't the old version, so nothing collectible there. But I made the mistake of getting rid of my original Phantom Domestic, and that was a problem. So unfortunately I got rid of my Phantom Domestic, but I did keep this one. So most of you would probably say you made the wrong choice, but it is what it is, and I still have this and it works perfectly. It has all the attachments. So as far as I know, these are the original ones. Whenever I got this at the aforementioned thrift store, there was multiples of these vacuums there. There was like 3 of them. So I don't know if this had all the attachments on it or if I grabbed the attachments from the other machines and put them on this one, so I had a full set. I'm pretty sure the latter is probably closer to the truth, but it is what it is. So full original attachment set, at least from a Dash 5, maybe not from this one, but from a Dash 5. So we got the original combo tool, the original extension wand, and the original crevice tool, the one with the ventilation holes that are kind of copying Dyson and a little notch in it, this is the best crevice tool they ever made. Unfortunately, you can't really find these as replacements anymore. I'd like to find brand new ones of these specific crevice tools, since they're kind of hard to find. A lot of my machines don't have the correct crevice tools on them. The combo tools and extension ones are all the same pretty much, but the crevice tools do change a lot. So this is the 3522-5. This one was manufactured on the 229th day of 2005. I forgot off the top of my head what date that was, but I did put it in that initial video because it's super easy to date a Bissell. First 2 digits is the year, other 3 digits are the days out of 365. So if you don't know, just look it up, punch it into Google, and it'll tell you what day it was manufactured. This one was, of course, manufactured in Korea by Samsung, since it's an older style, and has a carrying handle. This hose is pretty much worn out over time, so it's a lot more stretchy than it normally is. Normally these are super stiff, but this one in particular actually is pretty nice and pretty usable, considering that it's stretched out a decent amount. Of course, it's the twist and snap hose. This is the first variant to have the twist and snap hose. So easy clog removal, easy hose replacement. You don't have to screw it into the bracket to put the hose on like you did on the earlier Power Forces and Power Glides. So that's really nice. You have the bag change indicator, you have the headlight. It's not the wide beam headlight, it is the little peanut size bulb, so it's not as bright as it is on my Dash R or my Power Glides, but it is still there and it still does the trick, so I don't really have any complaints in that regard. So it's not the brightest headlight in the world compared to some of my older Bissells, but it is still a decent sized headlight and it does still get the job done. So also this one, I actually don't have a HEPA filter in. I actually have 2 of the post motor filters, since these are a little bit thin and they don't seal very well, so I stuck 2 of them in there to try to seal it a little bit nicer. This one I also have my clean fairy bags in. So, and of course this one has the much larger pre-motor filter, which doesn't filter as well as the original Power Glide because that one has the Tempo style plate cover, because a lot of dirt can kind of get in the seam in between here and go straight into the motor without even going through the filter first, because this does not have the best filtration in the world. That's an understatement, but it is better than all the bagless variants. And if you get HEPA bags, then that alleviates 90% of the problems, because a lot of that stuff isn't getting past the bag in the first place. So yeah, it's not a sealed system, but if the air that's coming out of the bag isn't very dirty in the first place, then you don't really have to worry too much about it, especially if you add a HEPA filter to the edge of it. So not a sealed system by any means, especially for the price. These were $40 when these were out. The newest equivalent's $56, so they're a little bit more expensive, but of course after you adjust for inflation. then you know that they're pretty similar. Even though the newer ones don't have as many features as this one does, but they are lighter weight. You do have some trade-offs there. But yeah, so this is a fantastic machine, and I really like it. So kind of reminds me of an old ThinkPad in terms of like, you know, how durable it is, how it's a sleek black design that's very kind of professional looking, but it has a lot of features a lot of other machines don't have. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I think about it. But yeah, let's run it. This one, the only maintenance that I've done to it is, I think one time I did tear it down to the motor and clean it out. I think, maybe? Actually, no, I don't think I even did that. I think I haven't even torn this down to the motor yet. It still sounds perfect. It even still has its original brush roll on it. At least I've never replaced the brush roll. And I've only ever replaced bags and belts, and it's been absolutely fine. Of course, the handle lock did break on it. That's why I replaced the base. But beyond that, it's been pretty solid. That's my biggest complaint, is just the handle lock breaking, which is very common with these older machines. So Bissell has seemed to have fixed that in the newer iterations, but only time will tell. Oh, well, that's weird. It appears that my Power Force has changed colors and slight designs, and seems to glide a little bit easier. So it would appear that my Power Force has pretty much gained a lot of the characteristics of a Bissell CleanView, as well as a little bit of dust. So, as you all know, this is the original Bissell Power Glide, and to this day, my channel has pretty much been the only one that I'm aware of that has featured the original Power Glide on it, as well as any real photographic evidence, because if you look up on Google, at least the last time I looked, I didn't really see any pictures of an original Power Glide, besides just, you know, stock photos. So these seem to definitely be uncommon. That is definitely an understatement, and there's more dust on this. This one did sit unused for a while, so it is also a little bit dusty. But anyways, this one is the original Bissell Power Force 3545. This one was manufactured in July of 2001. I'm remembering that off the top of my head. I believe it was July 12th, I think it was, if I'm remembering that correctly. My Power Glide videos say when it was made. All my Bissell videos say when they're made, and if I missed one, then let me know, because I probably forgot to add it. But, so this is the original Bissell Power Glide that originally released in 2001. This is the design that all these other vacuums are based on. This is the thing that started it all. The build quality was fantastic. The features that it had for a budget machine was really good. These retailed at about 80 bucks whenever they first came out. No, 70 bucks? 80 bucks. One of those two. There was also the Power Glide Plus on the market, which was about $10 more expensive than this. It was an upgraded version. And there was also the Power Glide Ultra, which was a huge step up, and that retailed for about $150. That was later replaced by the Power Glide Platinum, which, as we all know, is pretty much the most collectible out of all these machines, at least in terms of like daily driver usable machines, because it has the most features. But this one has all the fundamentals. It has 7 height adjustments, which is different than all the other vacuums. All the other vacuums have 5 height adjustments. The Platinum also has 7 height adjustments, but that's a height adjustments. And the styling is still a little bit different than the earlier CleanViews. The early CleanViews had like bars to reference the height adjustments. This one has the CleanView style, or at least the earlier CleanView style, like the 8990 series, single door filter latch, which is relatively uncommon. These have a tendency to break. There's a reason why Bissell moved away from these, because these latches tend to wear out, and then these filter doors will often blow open. So Bissell fixed that by implementing the one with the 2-lock mechanism, and that seems to be a lot tougher. So Of course, this one has a standard post motor filter. The other Power Glides have slightly higher end filters, and the Platinum has a HEPA filter. So it has a black power switch, which is interesting. All the other ones have a red power switch. So that's an interesting little quirk. This one is like a lime green sort of color. The Plus came in a blue, the Ultra came in a tan, and the Platinum came in a red. Has a bag door. The bag door is super easy to get off. It seems to seal a lot better than the other variants. I have my HEPA bag in here as usual. This has a Hoover Tempo. This has a Hoover Tempo style filter door where the actual filter is inside a little cage, which this is not lined up properly. There we go, fix that. This is very similar to a Hoover Tempo, and because of that, it filters a lot better than the Power Forces, because the filter isn't just sitting in this spot where the dirt can go in through the motor. It has a separate area. It's also the entire bottom. It's not like the later Power Forces, like the 1398 71Y7, where it only covers the area that goes into the motor. Even though that probably would make, that there's nothing wrong with that, because obviously this is mostly unused service area for like half of this. But it does mean that that's clean filter, that if the other part gets dirty, that the air can still pass through. So it does have that, which is really nice. I never knew it had this little cartridge slot in it. So that's a really interesting thing that I found out. That's kind of cool, and that I really like about these old Power Glides. It just seems like the attention to detail was, even more so than it was on the newer variants. Like, this seals very well. There's no air gaps or anything. It seems to kind of seal. This is kind of curved. It's a little bit more comfortable to pull off. It just feels more premium than the Power Force, despite the fact the Power Force came out a year after this and it was half the price. So the majority of the public opted to go for the Power Force instead, especially because a lot of people prefer the black color. So, but this one is still a really nice machine. This one's the original model 3545, as I mentioned earlier, and this one does have all the original attachments. It also has a belt holster, which, while the belt tends to fall, like there isn't like any sort of cam here, so the belt can kind of fall off easily. But I do still like this a lot better than it is on the Oryx, because on the Oryx, it's on the bottom, meaning that the belt is exposed to everything that you run over. So that can often cause the belt to dry rot and break over time, and then you put it on your Oryx. By the time you actually go to use it, it snaps, it burns through, it breaks. This one, it's in the back, it's away from everything, so this one's a lot easier. Again, I don't know why they removed this on the newer vacuums. It seems like such a nice feature to have. It's definitely not hurting anything to have a spot to put your extra belts. Of course, you always just leave them over the handle or something, especially because you could take the hose off, and you could, and I've done this before, you could take the hose off and just slide the belt over onto the top of this, and then snap the hose back on. I've done that before. I'm assuming that's probably why they got rid of it, because you could just do that instead. And the hose has kept its shape. It is a stiff hose, as it is on the Plus. On the Ultra and the Platinum, you get clear hoses, or you get stretch hoses. The Platinum has a clear hose, the Ultra has a black hose, and they're both stretch hoses, deluxe stretch hoses. This also has the older style combo tool. You don't really see these anymore. I don't even know where you can get replacements of these, so I'm very happy that mine had all the attachments, because I have no idea where to find these. I have yet to find any sort of stock of these older combo tools, but they did exist. And just like all the other ones, it has a little notch. You can take the crevice tool, which the crevice tool is a bit of an older style as well. You can take that and slide that in there and use it as an extension wand. So if you're cleaning and you want to use this as an extension wand and concentrate the airflow, you can do that. You can do that with the newer combo tools as well. So handle lock is still good on this. This has the swiveling hose, just like the early Power Forces did. So no twist and snap hose. This also is a bit of a thinner opening, so these tend to clog pretty easily. And that was another reason why this will switch to the twist and snap hose, both because it was a bigger opening and because you could just, well, twist it and snap it off and unclog it super easily without needing any tools. This one does have the original brush roll on it, so it's a 20-year brush roll, so it's not the absolute best at grooming the carpet. The bristles have worn down a bit, but the bristles still stick out. They're still stiff, still grooms very nicely, and the bearings are wonderful. The bearings on this seem to be of a lot better quality than the newer Bissell bearings, even ones that are only a couple years older than this. or a couple years younger than this. And it does have the wide beam headlight, so it has a very, very nice bright headlight. And beyond that, it also has, edge cleaning as well, which is also very nice. So yeah, there's really no complaints I have about this. Super happy to have it, and let's give it a run. Quiet performance isn't exactly accurate on this, but on the bright side, it does have the original headlight in it, so that's never been replaced as far as I'm aware. So the headlights last forever in these. The brush holes will last forever in these. Again, this is only a sample size of one. This is the only Powerglide I've ever found. So if anyone else has a Powerglide, I know one person commented and said they used to have a Plus, but I have yet to see one. So the Powerglide is definitely a very, very interesting machine. I'm super happy to have it. I will probably never get rid of it, so don't ask. It's not for sale. It's not for sale. Unless I find another one, then maybe. But, yeah, so... Also, it says Quiet Performance on the top of it. I'm not sure if Quiet Performance is exactly how I would describe it. Also, it's funny because it's called Powerglide, yet, in my experience, at least as of right now, it is more difficult to push than some of my other Power Forces, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's the Bissell Powerglide. I also forgot to mention that the cord on the original Powerglide feels completely different than all the other vacuums, all the other Bissells, because it has that very smooth kind of texture, just like my 10 amp Fury does, and it's a lot thinner too, but despite that, it didn't have any nicks in it. So that's interesting. Anyways, now we'll move on to the meat and potatoes, which is the pretty much most sought after vacuum in my collection. Even though it's not as uncommon as the last one, it is still one that people seem to like. I don't really know which of the two, between the two that I have, is more desirable. I'm guessing the Powerglide is more desirable to have, and the Platinum is more desirable to use. That's my guess, but any collector out there, correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, that depends on the person. So this is the legendary Bissell Powerglide Platinum. By the way, I also didn't mention how I got the Powerglide. The Powerglide, I got that one from the Powerglide, I got it from, I traveled to Indiana to pick it up. It was on the way from me going to see my grandma. So I met with them and picked it up and was super happy to get it. So I paid $30 bucks for it, for them to hold it, because at the time my grandma was sick and I had to wait like 2 weeks to get it. But I said, I'll give you an extra $5 if you hold it. And they did. Thankfully, they stuck back by their word, and I was able to get it. This one I got from Phantom Vacuums 2, as I did my Bissell Cleanview 2 Deluxe. So this one I got from Phantom Vacuums 2. Super sweet guy. He is selling a couple vacuums on eBay right now. Like, he's selling a Lux, he's selling a couple Oryx. So if you want any of those, go over to his eBay, go over to his YouTube channel, check him out. Phantom Vacuums 2 on everything. So yeah. He sold me this, and it is in wonderful condition. I did clean off some of the scratches with a abrasive side of a sponge, and unfortunately it faded the color a little bit. So this kind of deep, rich red color is faded on some parts in order to get off the paint marks. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. And it's still in good shape. The only real issue with it, and this was my fault, is that I went to put a screw in the middle screw section on the base plate, and the screw had snapped off. So now there is a piece of a screw that is stuck in this middle section. The good news is the head snapped clean off, so I can still take this brush plate off. I just can't, unless I drive that screw back out, I can't put a screw in this middle slot, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, because obviously the four corners are much more important for keeping the base plate on. But that's the only sort of issue that I have. Obviously, that's no one's fault but my own. But because that screw was missing whenever I got it, I tried to put a different screw in that wasn't a brand new screw, and it snapped off and got stuck in there. So I should have just bought a brand new screw and put it in, or just left it, and then there wouldn't be a piece of screw stuck in it. But to be honest, I forget about it most of the time anyways, and this is still good. It's also, I like how it has the original yellow that's weird. I like how it has the original yellow brush roller in it, so it matches the turbo brush and everything, as well as all the promotional pictures, of course, because these yellow brushes are really hard to find. That's another reason why I've been very hesitant to use this, because obviously that affects it. Also, I'm not sure if this is the original hose or not. I'm pretty sure this may be a replacement hose, because I remember these having shorter hose cuffs, but I could be wrong, because this, well, no, this is separate than the bagless one. So yeah, this is the correct hose. Obviously these aren't separate, but yeah. So this does have a deluxe stretch hose, and it is different than the one on the newer Power Forces, because this one has, and I don't even just mean with the one handle, I even mean with the 71Y7B and 1398 and Big Green, because this is a slightly thicker hose. Or is it, actually, now that I think about it? Is this a thinner quality hose? That's interesting. I'll have to check that out at some point. But this hose does have a little bit of a kink right here. You can see where it's kind of, I don't know how that happened. So at some point I'll probably look to get a replacement hose for this. But in the meantime, it works fine. It doesn't seem to really restrict airflow a whole ton, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. This clear lower hose is in great condition. Whenever I got it, it only had the turbo brush, so I did add the attachments myself. So the combo tool, the extension wand, and the crevice tool. This one's a 2010 model, so maybe it came with the later version of the gray crevice tool that doesn't have the holes or the notch in it, but I don't know because it didn't come with it. This one was manufactured in 2010, so this is a later version of the Powerglide Platinum. These originally came out in 2005, pretty much alongside the 3522-5, and that's basically what this is. It's just like a 3522-5 that's been upgraded and beefed up with a better handle, turbo brush, power track base. If you want a machine like this, if you don't care about having a Platinum specifically and you just want these features, you could buy a CleanView Power Track, even one with a bad motor in it, and swap the base onto a Power Force bag, and swap the handle from a, like a CleanView 2 Deluxe or something like that. I believe the handles will fit on each other. I don't know, I haven't checked that, but you can still use a turbo brush even if you can't put it on the machine, and put the stretch hose from the 1398 on it. And then at that point, you have the indicator, you have the headlight, you have the stretch hose, and you have the Power Track base. And of course, you can also retrofit a HEPA filter, and you would have that too. So, but it is nice to have the real deal. So that's definitely really nice. This is model 3545-2. So ironically, it's -2, even though there's 3 other versions of the Powerglide. You would think this would be 3545-4, but it isn't. So obviously the original is the original. I believe the Plus was -1, and I believe the Ultra was -5. I could be wrong on that. I'm going off of memory, so forgive me, and I just fell over. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. So this one also has a Clean Fairy HEPA bag in it. So that's pretty much that. I guess we'll go ahead and give it a quick run. There we go. So it's plugged in. Another reason why I like this is it does have a really nice long cord. I believe this is a 35-foot cord. So if you want, pretty much the modern equivalent of this would be the Power Lifter Pet Bagged or the CleanView Pet Bagged. Unfortunately, they don't have a modern version of this that doesn't have the weird pet turbo brush. But you could always buy a normal turbo brush and, attach it to the top of it, but it just wouldn't be the same. And this one came with 2 versions of the turbo brush, both yellow. This one's a later version that has a clear opening on it, whereas earlier versions have a black opening. That's like the one that's on my CleanView 2 Deluxe. And of course that snaps on the top. The turbo brush did come with it. I had supplied all the other attachments myself, because for some reason all the other attachments seem to go missing, yet the turbo brushes tend to remain, which most people's experience is usually the opposite. So that's kind of a fun little fact there. But yeah, so let's go ahead and, that feels weird. Why are all my vacuums like suddenly having issues the moment I go to film them? I don't know. I'm cursed. Anyways, let's go. So this one, the motor does sound a bit weird on wind down, but still performs just fine. This one also buzzes a little bit, kind of like my Power Groom and Power Force Helix does. At least it does now. I don't know if I didn't notice it before, but this one does buzz too, like the other two. None of my other ones do that. So, not sure what that's all about, but either way, it's still very, very nice, and I'm still happy to have it. It's not perfect, per se, but I have no complaints. It works, and it does the trick. It performs well, and even if I got a nicer one, I would still... What I'd like to do is get a nicer one to kind of keep as a collectible, and then this one that has the tiny little issues that are minuscule, yes, but do still exist. Have this be the one that I use as a daily, and then keep the other Powerglide Platinum, assuming I could find another one that's in better condition as a collectible. So, but unfortunately I'm not at that point yet, so I don't really use the Platinum too much, but I'm still not going to get rid of it, and I still really enjoy having it, and I'm still on the hunt for a Powerglide Plus, and especially a Powerglide Ultra, so we will see how the hunt for that goes. So I'm also on the hunt for a 6594 Power Force Bagless, a Bissell PowerTrack Revolution, and maybe a Cleanview 8990 or 8975, the blue version, not the black one that I have. So I don't know. There's a few Bissell machines that I still want to get, as well as maybe a Powerlifter pet bag, but, you know, I don't know. Anyways, that's all of my bagged Bissell vacuums in one video, so this was a very nice kind of hour-long extravaganza of Bissell machines. I think I pretty much mentioned all the differences between all of these vacuums, so hopefully there's not really anything in particular that I left out, because I know everyone's asking me to do comparisons between all various Bissell machines, so hopefully this will pretty much cover that, because I pretty much compared all of them to each other. I mentioned the differences. I mean, they all clean very similar, so there's not really much difference in that aspect. I mentioned all the feature differences, like stretch hoses, turbo brushes, cords, rarity, price. I don't know what else there is really to mention unless I threw some dirt on the ground, but I don't really do that much anymore. So yeah, that is pretty much it. This is the Bissell Powerglide Platinum. Of course, I compared it to all the other vacuums, the Powerglide, the Big Green, three Power Forces, and yeah, so that's pretty much all of my bagged Bissell upright vacuums. I don't really think, hopefully there's nothing I missed. If I did miss it, then I guess comment on it, and I'll comment on it if there's something in particular that I missed. Well, I do know that these pedal releases are a little bit more durable than the ones on the square bases, but that's not saying a whole lot. The ones on the newer ones seem to be a lot more durable. I think I mentioned that in the other parts as well. Oh, the handle is shaped a bit differently because of the Turbo Brush. I don't think there's anything else to really mention on this. Oh yeah, this one also, in some instances was called the Bissell PowerTrack. So there's two other guys on YouTube who have these. Phantom Lighting, he got his brand new, lucky. And another guy who had this, he compared it to an Auric XL2, but his just said Bissell PowerTrack, but it was the exact same machine, exact same color, exact same shape, exact same features. Just a different name and a different model number for really no good reason. And same thing with the Bissell Powerglide Plus. That does sometimes go under the Bissell Power Groom. Not to be confused with the Power Groom bagged, or bagless. It's the Power Force bag, or Power Groom bag. Not to be confused with the older Power Groom bag that's like a knockoff Hoover Elite. So that's confusing. A lot of these go under different names, but Bissell is guilty of that, just like Dirt Devil and Eureka and a lot of those companies that will rename the same vacuum 1,000 times and then give another vacuum that's a completely different design the same name as the other vacuum. It's really confusing, but you know, that's why a lot of us speak in model numbers. Again, this one is model number 3545-2, and there's not much else to say about this other than it's pretty cool, and I like having it. And it runs, functionally runs perfectly. It sounds a bit funky, but that's no big deal. Gives it character. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's me comparing all of my bagged Bissell upright vacuums. So I'll do another video on the bagless variants and on the Dysons and Phantoms, and that'll pretty much cover everything until I get a couple more machines fixed. And even then I might not do, it's probably not enough to justify a video. I have one Oreck, I have 2 Hoovers, but the other one's not even mine. And, and the 2 Sharks, which I'm selling, so I don't want to dirty those up. I'll do a review on the other Shark that I haven't done a review on yet, probably, but beyond that, not much else to do with that. So yeah, this is Intelitech Studios with a super duper hour-long extravaganza of comparing all of my Bissell bag vacuum cleaners to each other, running them all, ranting about them all, and hopefully this should cover everything that you have regarding questions about these machines. So again, if there is something I missed, just tell me on this video and I'll comment it, because I don't want to make 4,000 videos to cover every single little detail that I miss. So I probably missed something. I mentioned the cords, I mentioned everything else, blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is Intelitech Studios signing out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this super long video, and hopefully you found it interesting. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.